play it any louder, then it's getting shut down.
My name is Waffles, and I'm a government whistleblower turned political commentator, and this is the last 24 hours in the news. Today is September 28, 2025. It is 8:17 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Here are the top U.S. news highlights for the past 24 hours. Supreme Court declines to let Florida enforce immigration crackdown. Reported 16 hours ago, the court denied Florida's bid to reinstate a state-level immigration enforcement measure, effectively blocking the state's attempt to assume broader power over immigration procedures. Lindsay Halligan, appointed interim U.S. Attorney for Eastern District of Virginia. As of today, she was previously Special Assistant to the President and joins the Federal Prosecutions team. In that role, who is this Lindsay Halligan lady? Lindsay Robin Michelle Halligan is an American lawyer who has served as the interim United States Attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia in September 2025. Halligan served as Special Assistant to the President and White House Senior Associate Staff Secretary from January to September of 2025. This is a picture of Lindsay Halligan on Wikipedia. She is from the Eastern District of Virginia. I don't know much about her, but she's a Trump appointee, so I'm just going to assume that she's stupid as fuck because everybody he's had on his administration is stupid as fuck. Also, I think that the Photoshop on that photo of her to brighten her teeth is a little ridiculous. Crime, extremism, and civil risk. Trump orders deployment of troops to Portland and ICE facilities. The president directed the U.S. military to deploy in Portland and position forces to protect ICE facilities, saying he authorizes use of full force if necessary. Local officials pushed back, stating no request was made. The new military deployment order to Portland is itself a major shift in federal posture towards domestic law enforcement and civil order, especially given its rhetoric of using full force. At the federal level, the Supreme Court's refusal to allow Florida's immigration crackdown reinforces judicial checks on state attempts to expand control over immigration policy. The Portland troop deployment has international implications. Deploying U.S. military forces domestically, especially with full force language, is being watched by foreign governments and media and may affect perceptions of U.S. civil governance and norms. The Supreme Court's immigration decision also resonates internationally, signaling constraints on state-level immigration enforcement expansion. For trade and economic developments for the last 24 hours, consumer spending in August rose 0.6%. The Commerce Department reported that consumer spending, which accounts for more than two-thirds of the U.S. economic activity, increased by 0.6% in August. This was above some expectations and supports GDP strength. That's according to Reuters. PCE inflation matches expectations in August. The personal consumption expenditures PCE price index, the Fed's preferred inflation gauge, rose 0.3% in August. On an annual basis, PCE inflation was 2.7%. The core PCE, excluding food/energy, rose 0.2%. U.S. dollar set for weekly gains despite some weakening. The dollar has held gains amid resilient U.S. economic data, despite some intraday softening. The broader trend is for a second week of strength against major currencies. Agreement: U.S. says South Korea is not a currency manipulator. In a recent deal, the U.S. and South Korea agreed that Seoul won't be labeled as a currency manipulator in upcoming Treasury reports. This removes one potential flashpoint in U.S. trade diplomacy. South Korea rejects a $350 billion upfront payment proposal in tariff deal. South Korean officials state they can't produce $350 billion in cash upfront as part of a U.S. tariff relief deal. They proposed structuring it via investments, equity, or loans instead. Are you trying to hold ransom over South Korea's government with the tariffs, Mr. Trump? Is that what's going on here? What, do they need to have $350 billion in a multitude of suitcases and have it hand delivered to you by airplane? That's kind of weird. I'm just expressing my thoughts and my opinions based on my observations. And remember, kids, the stock market is not the economy. Just because the S&P 500 or Dow Jones might be performing does not mean that wages are growing, jobs are secure, inflation is under control, or that people are thriving. Here's the latest verified hazardous weather outlook for the U.S. for the next 3 days. Desert, Southwest, and Four Corners heavy to excessive rainfall is expected through Sunday from monsoon thunderstorms, which may cause isolated flash flooding and urban flooding in certain desert basins and urban corridors. A nearby tropical wave, AL94, continues to bring rainfall to Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands. Because Hurricane Humberto is nearby, interaction between systems is uncertain but could amplify rain in the southeast Atlantic coastal corridor. Plains and Central and Eastern U.S. Storm Prediction Center, SPC, and National Outlooks indicate today has a marginal risk of severe thunderstorms in parts of the Northeast, Mid-Atlantic, and Southwest. These storms could bring isolated, damaging winds and possibly a brief tornado or hail in stronger cells. Over the next couple of days, scattered storms may continue in the eastern U.S. Some storms might produce heavier rain, and the WPC excessive rainfall outlook flags zones where rain may exceed local flash flood thresholds. West and Pacific Northwest and Inland West, the national outlook also flags extreme heat and fire weather concerns in parts of the West, especially the Southwest. Over the coming days, dry fuels and elevated temperatures increase wildfire risk. Rain chances are modest in parts of the western interior, but these are not flagged as severe in current outlooks. And here are the top international news highlights from the past 24 hours. U.S. calls up 200 Oregon National Guard troops amid legal pushback in response to President Trump's announcement to deploy troops to Portland, which was made via Truth Social, by the way, which, if you ask me, is incredibly unprofessional. The Pentagon ordered 200 Oregon National Guard troops under federal authority. Oregon's Attorney General filed a lawsuit against the deployment, alleging overreach and violation of state sovereignty. Taliban frees a U.S. citizen after mediation. Amir Amiri, held by the Taliban since December of 2024, was released following a visit from Washington's hostage envoy, Adam Bowler. He was flown out via Qatar and thanked mediators publicly. U.S. and Mexico launched joint initiative to stem cross-border gun trafficking. The two countries announced enhanced cooperation. Mexico will use U.S. tools like ballistic imaging and weapon tracing, while the U.S. will increase inspections and joint investigative efforts to curb arms smuggling. Now, that is the only thing that I have heard since Trump has been in office that sounds like normal procedure. I don't know what's all going on there. I would hope that they're actually doing it. Other than that, this whole fucking shit that Trump's doing with immigration is a manufactured crisis, and I have evidence of that I have provided in my writing. So, at the end of the day, I'm happy to see something that looks like normal news for once. That looks like normal border security. efforts right there. But that's the first normal fucking thing I've seen since the motherfucker got into office. And I'm still pissed. Like, it's still not good enough because, like, that's great that you're, like, doing something that you're actually supposed to be doing, which I don't even know if this is accurate reporting. Like, it really makes me wonder because I haven't seen nothing normal. That's the first normal-looking thing I've seen this entire time this motherfucker's been in office. It still don't excuse the human trafficking and the abuse of human rights and making people go missing. Human life has value. And Donald Trump is one guy, and if he's going to do all this shit to a lot of people, like, fuck him, for real. Like, nobody's special. And no, your life is not more valuable. And actually, for me, if you ask me, I personally feel like Donald Trump's life is less valuable because he's not a valuable person. Like, at the end of the day, he's trashing the economy. So I got no reason to see him as valuable. And he's hurting people, so I also don't find that valuable. U.S. considers providing Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine. Vice President J.D. Vance stated that the Trump administration is reviewing a request by Ukraine for long-range Tomahawk cruise missiles. The final decision remains with Trump. Michigan church attack kills at least 4 in Grand Blanc, Michigan. A man drove into a Mormon church, fired an assault rifle, set it ablaze, and was killed in a police exchange. At least 4 died and 8 were wounded. Another one of MAGA's hired hands. I'm sorry, but it's just too obvious. Okay, I'm expressing my thoughts and my opinions based on my observations, and that's what this fucking looks like, alright? Trump to address U.S. military leaders in Quantico. President Trump plans to meet top generals and admirals in Quantico, Virginia, saying he will tell them we love them and urging toughness and smart leadership. So, this concludes today's news report. Everybody stay safe out there. See you later.
So the Olympics is great. And Johnny, for the others, you know, the World Cup, Johnny is the head of it. We had our top people, Wasserman. They all came in on the Olympics, and then I saw Johnny. And we got the World Cup, too. And, you know, it's only because they rigged the election that I'll be your president representing you there. You know, I got both of them. I got the Olympics, and I got the World Cup. And I said, you know, it's too bad. One was in 2026 and the other was in 2028. And I said, I won't be there. I won't be your president. But then they rigged the election and now we won. So I'm going to be your president for the Olympics and for the World Cup. So Johnny, thank you for the World Cup. And everybody, thank you for the Olympics. We're going to have a great time.
Hey guys, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and comment to my videos. And also, don't forget to check out my shop where you could get this awesome Real Patriots Punch Nazis t-shirt. America, fuck yeah! And if you go to the link tree in my bio on most platforms, it's got links to everything, all of my stuff. You can find my shop there. I'm on eBay. You can also get this cool Exterminate MAGA sticker, because MAGA's fucking cockroaches. And fuck MAGA, abolish MAGA, fuck you MAGA.